What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. We had a pretty fun Friday. I want to break it down on what caused all this fun, what the data points are saying, and what shorts did. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 0.76%. All in all, not all that bad. During the pre-market, you did see this crazy drop, and that is because of this. I'm sure everyone knows this at this stage in the game on how Trump pretty much just woke up from a bad dream and just said, hey, F the world, I'm just going to throw a tariff on Europe. So they did threaten a 50% tariff starting June the 1st. In my opinion, and clearly based on the recovery of not just SoFi, but the broader market, clearly people were under the impression that it was more of just a scare tactic. That's not going to be the final number. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that does play out. But market didn't kind of called Trump's bluff a little bit, so that was kind of a positive thing. As far as today, 12.75 the low, 13.21 the high, kind of low volume, so 44.04 million shares being traded, 62.1 is the average. No news from SoFi. There was a Form 4 that was submitted after hours yesterday. Obviously it was done after my video that I covered yesterday, but just shows Kelly did sell. It was transaction code S, so straight up sell, not for tax purposes, 11,000 shares. So nothing overly crazy considering they still have 203,000 shares left over. It was planned. You can see based on that. And so yeah, nothing really crazy if you ask me based on this, so no real reason to panic or anything like that. So let me know your viewpoints overall. No news, like I said, associated to SoFi, but there was one thing that did come out that even though it doesn't involve SoFi, I feel like there is opportunity. And basically you can kind of see that big American banks explore joint stablecoin venture per Wall Street Journal. So ultimately JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, a lot of the big names might be making a stablecoin, as crazy as that is. But we've seen a lot of kind of opening of Pandora's box for crypto for big banks. So again, I know I mentioned this in my video yesterday, but SoFi really needs to get on the crypto bandwagon like yesterday. Like they are kind of behind the times. They're missing out on so much potential revenue, so they need to like stop what the hell they're doing and really focus on that. You can tell that there is some things in the works because there's was some recent hiring for crypto managers, but at the end of the day, like they need to like really be on top of this and potentially even make their, I don't know how this could really work or what the end goal is, but if all the big banks are seeing it advantageous to make a stable coin, then SoFi needs to jump on board with that as well. So let me know your viewpoint. I found this rather interesting. And so yeah, SoFi definitely does need to kind of kick ass and haul ass pretty much. But aside from all of that though, you did see shorts return 118,000 shares, which is pretty good. Normally that's kind of what happens in leading into a long weekend. Shorts tend to return. That way they don't have to pay for a couple of unnecessary days by shorting, but 13.64% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 148.08 million shares. Last 2 days, cost to borrow minimum has been positive, so meaning that the manipulation behind the scenes kind of stopped, so that's always a positive thing. Looking at the options though, 7.09 million in calls, 5.39 in puts, 47% of all the options being done were bearish in nature, and you can kind of see some big outliers right here. So if we look up here, going back over here for a second, so 655,000 between 230 and 235, and if we orient this based on premiums, a lot of bearishness. And so ultimately it looks as though that there was some $12 puts that were purchased, and the expiry date is June 20th, 2025. So I do have a Patreon, as I've shared with you, and on there I go over basically what big money did, not just with SoFi, but pretty much across the board. And even yesterday, I did mention before technically Trump decided to go after Apple as well with a potential 25% import tax, there was a abnormal amount of bearish Apple options. So maybe Trump's friends kind of knew about this ahead of time, because I did mention that it might not be best to actually short Apple, but based on this, there is a downside kind of a hedging occurring. So yeah, kind of comical, but nonetheless, there is a lot of options, bearish options, all ultimately around that June 20th, 2025 expiry date. So not just with SoFi, but pretty much across the board, you are seeing a big pivot. So potentially around this time frame, this is where a lot of big money does see the bottom. So moral of the story, this option is, and multiple different options are negative and do really signal that SoFi might be sub $12 potentially by June, but bigger picture, I think that might be the bottom. Again, that's just analyzing this and pretty much a lot of the other information that I've been going over the last couple of days. But enough of me ranting. Ultimately, with SoFi closing above 13, that does mean that you have roughly that 6,000 in open interest at that $13 strike price. Everything else above that does expire worthless, so you're not going to see any bump up come Tuesday, unfortunately. So not necessarily the best. These are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So big money definitely was buying the SoFi dip, and obviously you can kind of tell that based on the nice recovery that did happen. So good to see with it at 1309, that's where it did close. It is still between this S2 and this S3. So 1312 will be a key pivot, so just watch for that. And then 1256 will be the next strong support. Aside from Kelly selling, there isn't really any articles or anything like that coming out. No new analyst ratings or anything like that. On the actual chart itself, still wedge bound between the 100 and also kind of the 50 and 200-day moving average, which is a very joint, good, strong support at this stage. So still kind of wedge bound between here. So markets just in limbo a little bit. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. I think overall today was a very interesting day, and it was very telling on what happened on how the market recovered despite the negative news, tariff news that did come out. It shows that people are catching on to Trump's bigger plan. Whether he actually does follow through with this, or if he still kind of folds and pulls back, that I think will be that deciding point whether SoFi and the broader market kind of move higher or potentially a little bit lower. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, as well as analyze a lot of information, give you a signal on what big money sees as coming next. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.